Craig, and today for the Surfboard Guide, we're going to check out the Blade by Rusty So I've been lucky enough to get my hands on two Rusty blades, both 510s, this one here with a 4-channel bottom, and also I've been able to get similar dimensions with a non-channel bottom, so we're going to check them both out today. So the channel bottom blade that I've been riding is a 510, and it's 510 by 19.37 by 2.35 and exactly 29.7 litres. So looking over the blade, it's got a fairly kind of retro 80s kind of shape because it actually comes from a model that Rusty had a while ago called the 84, which came from some boards that Rusty did back in the day for Oki when he was riding their boards through the 80s and whatnot. So from that, it holds some of those very similar 1980s kind of surfboard design characteristics. There's a really flat, I don't know if you can see how flat and thick that deck is. So that 2.35 I speak about, which in most modern shortboards isn't very thick at all. This actually is because that 2.35 that's on the stringer is actually held out almost to the rail. Before it just drops away, it's got this sharp and late rail, just to drop it down so it's not too thick right on the edge. The original 84 also had a beak nose, but after some feedback from team and whatnot, they got rid of that beak and just gave it a bit more of a modern kind of nose lift and also a modern rocker throughout the board. Flipping over the blade, that's where it gets kind of interesting. Yeah, like I said, it's got the 84 shape, which was a little bit flatter. They've given a little bit more nose lift, just a bit more rocker through the front. It's fairly flat through the tail, but it also has these really cool 4 channels that come through the belly, and they just come lightly out through the tail. The only real difference in this, it's pretty flat through the front. There's almost no concave here. I can't feel much at all. And it has these channels, as you can see. And with the non-channel version, what you have is you have a single concave that comes up through the board and a double through the fins that goes out through the tail. Like I said, it's a fairly 80s kind of design. It holds a lot of volume throughout the board, which has been absolutely epic, but gave me a bit of a shock. When I shot up to Rusty to pick up the boards, I'd just been for a surf and I'd ridden like a normal kind of standard shortboard. And to put this under your arm, it feels quite unique because it is really thick right to like the last inch of the rail. So it feels like this massive board. So it's absolutely frothing to get in the water and see how it goes because it's very, very different to anything else I've been riding. For a while we got some pretty pumping waves, and actually the first surf I had, I took out the channel bottom version and I wasn't quite sure how to go. And our waves were absolutely pumping where I live, which does not happen very often, but we had a couple of days and I took this out and the thing was an absolute rocket. The 29.7 litres is very similar to what I ride in a standard shortboard, but it's just distributed really, really well. It's quite thick under your chest, so paddling is really easy. Through the belly, it holds a lot of foam, so it keeps pace and speed down the line and throughout turns. And also, I'm a massive fan. I've brought up a lot of different reviews before. It holds a lot of foam under your back foot, and I just find that so easy to surf, especially through flatter sections when you haven't got much pace, and also much smaller waves. Yeah, like I said, when I took it out for a first surf where I live was absolutely pumping. And one thing I was really interested to check out was how the channels would perform. I've had a whole bunch of different boards with channels, and I found that a lot of boards might have channels that are a bit further up in the belly, and they tend to give the board a little bit more pace and a lot of speed. But sometimes if you have channels that come out through the tail, and they hold their way out through the tail, they can actually make the board a little bit hard to turn. They're really drivey and they'll hold through a bottom turn really nicely. But if you go through like, try and release it or go through a turn or off the top, they still have this extra hold that you're not generally used to through a flatter bottom board. And sometimes it can be a bit sticky and a bit harder to surf. But these channels actually round off quite nicely out through the tail, and they weren't too sticky at all. And they made the board an absolute rocket, made it so fast, lots of drive, and just got around sections with a lot of ease. Yeah, since then, I've been able to surf the blade in a whole variety of conditions. I had a few surfs on it, like I said, when it was pumping, and I actually had to have surgery on my knee, so I was out of the water for a little while. And since being back, it's all I've ridden, but we've been plagued by small and average waves. And what I didn't know the board would do, it's a really, really good groveler. So the last couple of weeks we've been trying to film for the review. I've been surfing this board a whole lot and been getting waves in kind of the knee high, through to waist to chest high, but really weak wind swells with not a lot of push. But this has gone really well. Like I said, that distribution of foam under the chest just makes paddling really easy. The distribution of foam through the board makes surfing and keeping pace across flat sections easy. And those channels just give the board an extra little boost and make it so quick. So it's been absolutely epic to ride in conditions, 4 foot plus when it's been pumping, and even in really small, like 1 to 2 foot kind of average days. Blade with the channel bottom, I've been riding the John Techflexes by Futures fins. So these are more of a control fin, so for controlling speed rather than generating speed, and these have a ride number of 3.4. I wasn't sure with the channels because sometimes channels can give the board a lot of hold and you may have to drop down fin sizes. But the first time I rode it, I took these, I took AM2s, I took these Geordies that I have, fins that I normally ride in a whole bunch of boards, and these felt absolutely perfect. The AM2s and the Geordies felt good, but this felt perfect. The board had so much natural speed that it didn't need like a speed generating fin or anything like that. And because I'm familiar with this fin, it worked really well. In the flat bottom blade, it's got FCS2 and I rode the large AMs in that. So that's the Almeric template, one of my favorite fin templates across Futures and FCS, and that felt absolutely perfect in that board. Overall, I think the blade would be for almost anyone. It's easy to surf, it makes the most of pretty average beach break conditions, it paddles well, it surfs really well. You'll see from some of the footage we've got some pretty average waves, there's not a lot of push, but the thing keeps going. It was a whole lot of fun to surf. If you had to pick between the two, I'd probably go with the channel bottom. It feels quicker, it feels lively, it's really exciting to surf. The flat bottom felt fine, it felt absolutely perfect, and if you don't like channels, that thing's the go. But if you're keen to check something out different, or if you're a fan of channels, this is it. It was a whole lot of fun to surf, so fast, and I absolutely loved it. Cool. I absolutely love the Rusty Blade, a cool 80s kind of design that's come with a bit of a modern flair, and it was really exciting to surf, and hopefully you get a chance to check one out. Thanks so much for watching.